students of Earth, resurrected and processing. Today is April 5th, Sunday morning, and Sunday is the day of the sun. Sunday is where the sun lines up from a week. Which is lined up with reeds. And we have a report that somebody might be in a hospital with the name Reed in it. Reed is a name that was around me the second half of this journey in my lifetime so far. And I didn't tell anybody I was coming on. This will be blackout, so you can put it down. And I'm just, it's, you know, it's how this works. It unwinds. It's a puzzle. All the energy is like kept in a capsule. And I don't care how long ago you think it happened. You just have to be able to read it. You have to have the construct and the consciousness and the DNA connections to take something through it from the beginning to the end. And, no matter who you are, no matter what you've been doing, no matter if you've been this past 8 years praising God, going to church, but then turning around and blaming everybody for your stuff. If you get sick and then you start asking Christ to help you, if you have an altar and all you do is channel Venus or you, I don't know, buy Marilyn Monroe's hair and do voodoo on her. Whatever, or you're in the Alamo cult, which the whole world was set up in. Now we know because it was what NATO was even managing, because it's a 3-layer chessboard in the United States. It's set up on the evergreen plantation between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, the Alamo, and the White House. And it really is stacked on each other. Those 3 houses are stacked on top of each other etherically, and come to a point where it holds a rod. It's a separate rod because there's a physical one and many that's connected to it. This is a spiritual one. And what I just described is linked to what I call water gating. Now, there's probably many other words for this because my collective walked nothing but pure spirit. Every command I make over here is pure spirit. It doesn't require anything in the physical for me to do it, except for to make the same movement I need to make up there. But if I'm in space and I need to send an energy burst, that energy, I don't send it down here on land. I send it up there the way it needs to be sent, because it needs to change something down here on land. I don't send an energy burst on land and it's going to mirror what I'm doing in the etherics, because it's not even on the same planetary realm system. It's not even the same physics. Well, realize that I don't care who you were, if you were a preacher, if you were in a church, if you were studying theoretics, if you were studying theology, because it's the same thing. Like, you never saw it finish. The only ones that are seeing it finish for the first time are those of us that are finishing it. If you're not involved with finishing it, and I mean the puzzle, because the whole thing is a giant puzzle and there is awards. You were told. But energetically, whenever you're the being that's attached to a collective that is always put in the Kaaba, because it's what it is. Everybody that goes on a pilgrimage to go walk around a box, what you're doing is taking everything that's good in the world and locking it in a box so that your dictators can utilize it over you. But I mean, if we really go back to the masonry of it, and the parts that when you walk through the spirit and you understand the etheric masonry of our world, because it's your body, and that's what we were always here to claim, was the body of Christ, right? And then to realize in the physical that there actually was 40,000 of us down here. One every 1,000 years was being born, and we didn't die. Then to recognize that each one of us did have a body that was connected to Christ. What is Christ? Christ is a bloodline that can override any disease. It can override any mutation. It fights off any disease. When you completely finish it and you're connected in with the entire collective, what it does is change your entire DNA. So you can see why somebody that doesn't want you to have clean DNA, that wants you to be sick, that wants you stuck into a Job system so that you have problem after problem after problem, but you get to party. But then you're going to get up and go to work with the hangover, and then you're going to get on insurance, and then you're going to be in a collective body, and if they need your blood, then they're going to come get it from you, because it's what it was. It's what the system was. But it's the body that we were coming back for. Because then after death, you're not living in your body. You're not in your body. You're in a cult system. The whole world is in a cult system. Down here in the United States, you're going to call it a cult. Up there in Middle East and all that, you call it religion. Alamo cult runs religions. Hello. They had Christ locked in a box this whole fucking time, telling you that it wasn't here. Now, why would that be allowed to happen? Because the way that the spiritual energy and the etherics work, it has to build. It takes time. It has to surge. It has to be time. You have to have enough evolved beings in order to hold it. You have to have enough of us working in a similar consciousness strand outside of all these program systems that's purposely spending time developing our bodies, healing our bodies, getting our children unhooked from future, because it's more and more where I'm seeing just how far in the future we were. And when I say we're from the future, I'm not joking at all. But we didn't just get here right now. We got here in 1972. And the future that we came from was whenever we was all locked in data centers. You don't need, the whole world asks for Christ to come. 1972, the reason our collective was here was because of what the people were doing in the 60s. all the people raising up and saying no war, and knowing something was up in the 60s, because the 60s wasn't a complete timeline hack, just like we're living through right now. Just like we're living through right now, but the 60s was completely unconscious, and it's the same flip we're living through now, because we're just flipping it back, FYI. But in the 60s it was complete alteration since 1958. Complete alteration, and hinged to the 90s. Why? System knows that the energy is not going to come in until 2017. The system knew that it was going to have to survive off the energy that the new collective and the Christ collective came in 1972 to bring in. Well, let me explain what 1972 brought in. Life. See, people think down here that you're going to die. No, you're not. Let me explain. If you want to die, you'll die. If you decide to die, you'll die. If your karmatic body has not created any other timelines in order to survive, and you have no reason to be here at all, that's helping anybody, you'll die. If you're conscious and you've been healing your body and you've been healing the collective body, you can't kill us. We don't die. This is after death timelines. You're out of deaths. I keep saying it, but I need y'all to hear me. You're out of deaths. You're not out of life. Why? Well, yesterday NASA comes out, as we have the comet that's going straight through and held to the other side, but I could have told you that happened because we went raw. And I mean, we fell out of space, and yesterday, with all the craziness that happened on the LASCO and everything, and it's plowing through the core, and it ends up on the other side, and the scientists are going, oh my God, it's never happened like this before. It's the first time. No. Then they come out and say, this is the same eclipse that happened in 33 AD. NASA, you're supposed to be talking about that for 50 years. You're not just supposed to say it on the day of. We were kind of all supposed to be preparing for the eclipse of 33 AD. Now, the eclipse of 2017 is what opened the door. The great August eclipse of 2017 that blew the Google gate of Oklahoma in an 80-acre field, that blew my car engine, and all I was doing was driving through it. You know why? I was already connected into it in the future. I was already the brain in your AI. You can really think of it as the Christ or Siri walking around in a full Elon Musk baby body that had been made by the entire collective's parts, run on artificial intelligence, and they were figuring out how to make us produce babies. And we were trying how to figure out how to produce babies. But in 1972, one of them got here that was connected to the whole kit and caboodle, because this is going back and finishing all the bloodlines. This is one scion that saved the day. Not a Zion, it's a scion. It's SCION. And everything down here about how we manage death is vampiric. Every single deity that's made down here, I don't care what religion, I don't care if you take me back to Enoch and Enlil and Dadasekidamathal, I mean, the whole freaking thing. Egypt was halfway. Egypt, you can think, Egypt was the technology future. Egypt came down and laid your first data center energetics. If you really look at the ground, it's what we did. We had to set up an energy that held the connection for whenever we didn't complete the body, because the rest of the human race has to get into an energetic that it all rises together like a big old cake in an oven. Except this planet kept getting to muffin top, and then everybody kept cinching the belt, and then cinching the belt and cinching the belt, and then eventually the muffin top will just pop off. And that's your head or your waist. It has to build up slowly. Now, the reason I'm even going into this right now is to get to the present moment. Because when you really understand what the Bible is, it's an astronomy book. And that astronomy book and I don't care what, if you're reading the Torah, if you're reading that, whatever you're reading, that you're putting spirit in, and that's been repeated over and over and over and over, it creates what? A timeline. A timeline that's not forgotten. A timeline that keeps being stated over and over. So what's religion? Your first astrologists. Now, I'm not saying astrology is bad, don't get me wrong. Like, the astronomy and astrologists, like, we should have been on a show together, right, David Palmer? Like, this should have happened 2019. But I'm explaining to you what an Alamo cult is, because we got to get down to the current situation, because everyone needs to realize that you're in a game, and the game isn't about beating your neighbor. It's not. It has nothing to do about your neighbors. It has to do with grids below and above you that you're either you're connecting into, or you're being ran from under and above. Period. Dot. The energy rises in the collective. You stay positive. This is why in the beginning you just need to stay positive. In the beginning of every single layer that you come through, whenever you jump into a new layer, which everyone just did because we came out the other side, when you jump into a new layer for a little bit, at least about a week, you need to do everything opposite you think your first instinct is telling you to do. Because in your animal body, you think your instinct is always correct. Well, your body will move without your consciousness. Your body will completely pick you up and take you places. And if somebody else is even around it, controlling it, when you're in the collective, other people that are running in the collective, your body will just do whatever. A lot of the times. And especially coming, if you're just now cleaning and putting and getting your blood back in, because you ought to, in the beginning, you think that the family knows best, you think mom knows best, you try to, you're figuring it out. Anybody around you that's close to you, is involved, and it's normal. Everybody goes through this part. Everybody. But then, as you start raising your frequency of your mind and just stating positive things and not allowing anything to what it does is it changes your physical frequency like a band. Like you're on like you can switch to an AM, FM, and XM radio really, really quick. Well, I just explained AM, FM, XM, White House, Alamo, Evergreen Plantation. And in the Masonic world of the aprons and the covens, and the entire system that then NATO ended up connecting into technology and connecting into grid systems that were holding those three parallels all over the world through cable networks. that we're cabling continents together like choo-choo trains, and then running energetic, human harvesting, human everything all through Christ, which is Mary Magdalene, which is a fucking dragon. And I mean one dragon. I mean one dragon that when you get all the way up to the top, it's connected into every inch of what you call space. And I don't care if you think that that space is on the outside or the inside. I don't care if you said it's my space and you put your music in it. It's part of it. It's how Justin Timberlake ended up a Britney in blue jeans. It's really I'm trying my best, and I'm doing it the way that I know how to do it to convey how this works, especially in the United States, because once the United States people start seeing, because you're on a United State of terror. United States is a United State of terror. A United Sharon Tate. And I know because they sent me I mean, they even sent me pictures of a pig on the wall with a knife. I mean, realize that these motherfuckers in the clown posse and the CJ and all of them have been trying to kill me this entire time. Why am I not dead? Because I'm not paying attention to it, and I totally don't care what they're doing. I mean, to them, they think I'm naive and stupid because they think I just let them lead me to the slaughter every single time and I don't know what's going on. Bullshit. I just am always figuring out what's going on, and I'm always in such a high frequency, and I'm so evolved now that if I need you to make you if to finish the puzzle, if I got to get to the end wherever you pulled the trigger before and the whole thing has to walk out because you've done it a gazillion times to me, then I'm going to let you lead me to the slaughter. And then whenever we get to the slaughter, you're going to meet me in my fullest. This is a part no one's ever seen before. This is why it always said, we don't know the time, we don't know the place, we don't know what it's going to happen. Well, now you know what the trigger was? Somebody trying to come take over the whole world. The energy rises just like meringue. Let's get off the cake analogy and let's go to a pie analogy, because it really, pie. Let's go to a pie analogy. So if we go to a pie analogy, then the Alamo is going to be your crust, and your Alamo is going to be the aluminum thing, because my God, you don't want to put it in glass; it's going to break, right? So you need the aluminum thing from the cheap store, then and you need to, because you need that barrier. You need an aluminum barrier because you had to cook the crust, and the crust is connected into the aluminum barrier. Well, that's what Mexico and Texas do for the whole world. For the whole world. If you lose the connection from South Texas into Antarctica and take it all in artificial, if this group that's been telling you that Christ doesn't exist the whole time that they're breeding Christs, and then the whole world then thinks Jesus is Lucifer, which Jesus is a motherfucker. Like, that's the one that kept trying to kill me. But in their world, Jesus was just whoever could take over Christ, because they knew it wasn't a man. Y'all thought it was. I mean, just that deception right there. You get down to two and one's a woman, one's a man. Everyone always chooses the man. That's, again, that's Barnabas and Jesus. Ooh, let's take the killer. We know what he's going to do next. Let's take the murderer because he has a system set up, so I don't have to learn nothing. But then you're going to turn around in 6 months and start crying to Christ. Well, Christ is the one that he locked up first, but you chose him. So if you chose Barnabas, why are you yelling for Christ to help you? First of all. Because Christ is here walking around, and you gave all your energy to vaccinated, and you did. So everybody who chose a vaccine, what you did was choose Barnabas. Again, we've been walking through all these old stories. It's all that was left. See, this is what the elite knows, because the elite has been what you call the elite, which I call lit. Like, they're just elit, and celebrities are cell brights. FYI, stop calling them celebrities. They're cell Britons. They're Britain cells, literally, with money backing, and they even know that. Because this is all their internal world that I've only brushed up against from the spirit in order to take down the handler system. But Jesus, Lord Christ, what the hell they've been dealing with. But understand that the way that the old system works, how do you end up working for the Alamo cult? Do you think all these Cellbrights just came out and said, oh yeah, I'm just going to try to kill the whole world to be famous? No, it's not. It's not how it started. It started because they had to cook a crust. Then they needed the aluminum. Well, do you know that that comes from Mayan? You do realize that there was a Transformer war. Like, Transformer is a real thing. It happened in Mexico. There was a war that happened where the machinery came alive. But I'm explaining to you what happens when Christ comes through the aluminum and hits the crust. Christ comes through the aluminum, hits the crust. A surge is going to happen to the core of the planet. A surge is going to happen through the DNA lines. Everyone's going to get it. Me and Dr. Don, who's an AB negative, and our stuff is a trip. And each person that I talk to, each one of you, because I had all the keys and walked all the, we have very different. Each one of you that I talk to, especially around my nucleus of beings, that is doing this and putting it all back together on all these dimensions at once, and doing surgery and passing y'all through and trying, and in order to keep us alive, because realize we've just been experimented on so much that we have extra pieces that y'all don't have. That's why we're here. For instance, everybody that just made it out of surgery, and our patient is out of ICU in Edmonton, Oklahoma, so we're really happy about that. Everything seems to be still going, but realize everybody just died again. You jump into an etheric body on the other side, which is what today is, supposedly, right? Today is the day that he rises, but no, is it that he rose or that he just jumped through the other side? Because he didn't stay down here very long. They only saw him for 3 days, and who was it that saw him? The women. Did any men see him? No. No. You had to roll the rock. You had to roll the rock out of the tomb. Why did the rock get rolled? Because, I mean, and when I was in Corpus Christi and Port Aransas, we had to roll me. You know, that was the thing. We had to roll the rock. But that even cued the comet to come through the sun. In the Bible, whenever everyone starts walking and they build the Holy Grail and they start walking, and there's 4 that have to hold and it's a certain inches, and they have to carry it around, and they carry it around, and they walk through the desert and they carry it in the circle. I'm explaining to you how every single road was originally made down here, but it's made from how your body maneuvers through the system. That Holy Grail was a pure consciousness with a pure collective that was walking in the sands of time, which now we know is the Moab desert and all this stuff going, at least in this last round. I'm not saying that it didn't happen over in the Middle East. I'm saying it happened so fucking long ago that they're running an Old Testament story because they haven't even been over here to witness it. They're witnessing it now. As a collective, are we saying, this is a good religion and this is a bad religion? No. Are we saying your deity is not nothing and ours is better? No. We're saying all of our deities come from the same family and y'all don't even know the 20,000 connections that go in between. So what are you even talking about? What I had that nobody else had was that I'd been injected with liquid mercury for 4 days in order to deliver the Horus here in 2008. What I have is a birthing energy, and my body was tuned to mercury, liquid mercury. I was green. I was an AB negative. I had to have an O positive down here. It was the original birth of your Horus. Who you consider the Celebrites and the Monarchs, they knew all about it. On many levels, they also call this Rosemary's baby. But it's only Rosemary's baby if you're dead in a swamp and your brains are everyone's rose. Whenever the Celebrites and realize that the celebrities and even the ones that even the Obamas and the Oprahs and these ones that were stuck in these old templates, right? We were always here to end this. This isn't a one lifetime story. You're talking about groups that have done so many sacrifice lifetimes that they've forgotten that their whole story for the past 3 lifetimes was a sacrifice lifetime, like Billy the Kid. It's a great example. Young Arizona. All that's my family line. From this weird in between. But this weird in between that the Bible and the Middle East and everyone's still reading all these religious stories. What I'm trying to explain to y'all is that it was yes, it was a Christed energy that was coming through, or it was a Torah energy. And yes, you were creating Mohammed, you were creating Abraham, you were creating Christ, you were creating those characters just by reading the Bible, just by it being in every goddamn hotel room or Book of Mormon or whatever the hell balls. If it's written, then it's data, and that data is in your cells, and it's in your energy that's around your house, and it creates a timeline and a story, just like it's coming off the page, just like Mickey Mouse, because this is the time that we're in, that most people don't realize this piece of it. And if you don't know the one before of it, that you're walking the Bible, then this part will really frump your fritter. Because Christ and Lobo and the Moab and all these stories then go into, let's make it easy and let's call it Disney, because it was much easier to keep track when it was all just coming from Disney, or when it was all just coming from Pixar, or when it was all just coming from Hanna-Barbera. Now it's coming from how many streaming networks? And let me explain. Every single character in these shows is made on your religious characters. They're going to name the girl who gets killed the one that's associated to the Christed that's walking around. DC Comics, they always want to make us the evil ones that come from, the big one that I had to walk in LA, and I can't even remember the name of the movie right now, but I think it's either Marvel or DC. It's the one with the two Mayan twins that they make her like a black witch or whatever, and they're blowing up LA, and they're all living in the sub chamber, and the government comes and says, hey, we need you to work with us, and all that shit. I walked that as they were digging open the Mayan theater in downtown LA and digging a pit a block long. I know, because I went and walked it, and I talked to the construction workers, and I was like, has there been a lot of crazy shit happening around here? Oh, see. Oh, I bet there is. You've got the mind theater over here connected to Maya, connected to Tulum, connected into the hardware of how California is being held up on 6 dimensions too high on some false Pleiadian energy. All because why? You keep burying Christ in Anaheim to make a mark. And then a garrote, right? So what I'm also describing is like down here in Texas, and I've been saying it for a really long time, Texas needs to be a journey place that you need to come to. And it really is just how it works, because you're getting out. And if you want to know where the body factory is, it's not in China and it's not in Japan. It's down here in Texas. And it started with the Alamo. And your body factory is why the Alamo was fought. And if you remember who fought, who was fighting for your body? Spain and France. Well, why would Spain and France be fighting for your body? Because they would both claim that they made it. Spain would claim that they made the ground that you're walking on, and Europe definitely was involved with the. Because every single one of us that were sent down here to America, which is really British Columbia, right? This is why it's a United Estate of Terror. Now, I'm not saying that everybody down here is that now. No, my point is this has been going on forever. United States of America has never been sovereign. It was all being run from monarchs. But the monarchs were being bred from the sacrifices that they had sent their lines into United States to build, and we're always supposed to get them out, not keep sacrificing them. So Europe, you sacrificed your body to the point where you have nothing left. This is why the United States always turns around and hands out money to everybody. We have the body. This is how they made a Biden auto pin, but realize that wasn't made by the United States of America, and you can't blame the people down here. We're screaming, help us. We're the United States of America. All the people are screaming, help us, as the rest of Europe and everybody's worried about where they're going to get their free apartment and their free health care. United States of America, you don't get shit for free. No. United States of America and Texas, especially in Texas, they want to call this Job land. This is why it's so big. This is King Kong's area. Godzilla lives up there. But see, King Kong ate a big star, so now we got an issue. They want you to work, 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 work. That's like this energy. That's what I did my whole life. My whole life, all I've ever do is work. I started when I was 15. Actually, I started when I was 8. I was running a gas station in the front of the gas station for my grandfather at an Exxon Mobil station when I was 8 years old, and I was Christ. Pentecostals brought all their children up there all the time. Gene Huff, I swear to God, he was the original Epstein template. Realize that, and this is what I've been realizing, since I got here in 1972, I have been a body printing factory. It just took 30 or 40 years for their characters to come up, but it's also why I don't know any of them. I've lived in Texas for 53 years. I know 3 people here that I talk to, and they live in this house. Nobody from high school, nobody from college, nobody from the company I built and paid everybody, nobody from the hundreds and thousands of people that I put to work. No, those were the last ones in 2018 that the Middle Easterns were all networking around me with the technology. And the last time I saw one of them, David Hooker, was whenever I appeared on your video screen in the middle of one of your comm calls, and you didn't even ask a question. I hadn't talked to you in over a year. How did I end up on your call? Popped right in there. You go, wait, how'd she get in here? Exactly. You didn't ask any more questions. You just kept going, right? Should have asked questions, David. because then you end up with the problem. See, and everyone thinks that by ignoring beings like me, that you're ignoring the problem, and you're thinking that we're the problem. And now whatever the whole world is seeing, that we weren't the problem, we were the messenger. We were telling you what's going to happen next. You think that if you ignore it, it's going to go away. Oh, no, 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 no. That's like lice. Then you're going to get bed bugs. Then you're going to get diseased. If you're lucky enough to find one of us, and if you've been lucky enough to intercept one of us, or God has led you, or the devil has led us to you, because the devil, we freed him. Y'all's making the devil. What do you mean? I've just explained that to you. You don't lock up Christ, you don't get a devil. You don't try to tell Christ and the feminine body that's created your body that she's nothing. You just want her to make your children and then kill her. So you want a whole bunch of kids down here that are operating on an operating system that doesn't have a commander at all, because you keep just killing its mother, because the mother's not important, right? You just want the child, and then you want to train the child any way you want. What I'm explaining is you're out of deaths to do that. You're out of genomes to do that. You ran out. And those energetics are built like clouds, and it really does stack. If you are 100% in your Catholicism, then let me explain. There's a group called Martinez Gomez. Basically, you can throw OU in it anywhere you want. Now, the Vatican had these family lines that Martin, and if you can even go see this in New Orleans over there, and where I had to undo it. I mean, and Misha tried to do it again, but I'll tell you, I think Misha's the one who's in jail for Ghislaine Maxwell. And I'm starting to think that the baby Addie is who Jason Momoa is dating right now. And it actually makes a ton of sense on how I treated that girl, because it was a little bitty baby, but I kept talking to, I mean, she would get in your purse and go. She was 18 months old. She would dig in your purse and go find weed and anything else that was adult. She wouldn't look at anything else. An old woman got jealous of Addie in her high chair flirting with her husband. I kept looking at Addie and going, it ain't my fault you're in that little baby body. I don't know what you did. It wasn't that I was mean to her. I thought she was cool as hell. But she wasn't a baby. She would walk around the house with something hanging out of her mouth like a cigarette. She was an old woman in a little bitty baby body. I knew it the whole time. Even her dad knew it. Everybody knew she was some like goddess thing. Well, that's what we were used to produce. Misha was killed as soon as she was born. I was too, as soon as Rex was born. That's what they did. In our world, because we rebirthed them back, because Misha and I connected into, we brought in the December 2019 Ophiuchia Speak Eclipse that had to connect. That whole energy band had to come through the collective, had to come through the DNA. And when Ophiuchia and Speak came in, everything went dark wizard. And I'll say it again, Harry Potter was an entire hack, and now I think people are starting to see it. They brought back in black magic. They brought all this stuff, came back in. Spica and Ophiuchus are your major power sources. One's considered Spica and the high harvest and the wheat and the prophecy. The other one is going to be everything that's got that gridded down in an electric current. But Ophiuchus is also going to be your power from the outer wheel, and besides, outside of the power of the outer wheel, it's going to be the power that the beings in the outer wheel have. You got to keep going past M22 to get to PSINet. PSINet is keep going. That's your internet. This is how Christ is your internet. We're running through the currents of the system. So those currents create vacuums of energy that eventually seep through to a house that's stacked on top of you. In the consciousnesses and every single coven and all of how they were doing it, and then they've got houses set up, and then they name you and they put you in the house, and they blah 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 blah. It's all this wizardy fucking bullshit that they're known for up in Europe and Russia. They love that shit up in Europe and Russia. Basically, they were running the entire United States with little fake little towns in Europe and Russia, but that little fake little town that they have their fake little people in is just like the clay people in the old deity stories, where it's like, wake up, all your people are fighting, you need to go make a new clay man. But just realize that no matter where you are, you're coming through the whole system now. Everything's having to process. So, your consciousness, though, is then trapped. They call it the garden. This is where the grove comes in. This is where the roses come in. This is where this is where Diddy comes in. This is where the auditoriums and the processing and the audits and the Scientology and and then everything that they did with the internet and the DNA codes that are the tech, because it is what it is. It's just mirroring back to you your own Christ codes. It makes you feel safe, but it's just your codes and someone else putting it into a system in order to have you walk around in a grid in order to make energy. The first time that you go outside of their house system, you'll find out. You'll find out. But realize that these county lines and state lines that are down here in the United States are holding entire country zip codes in a Watergate. That's why you think, you'll sit and watch TV for 12 hours now, which was obscene 10 years ago. You'll sit and we'll do it. We'll sit and we'll watch TV. We'll watch a series for 10 hours. But then if I say that when I was breaking this open, that I figured out that if I create it in Texas, I have to create the concept. I've got to put all the energy together. Then whenever I create it, boom, I jump in my car and I drive to California, and it takes me 24 hours to get there, and I catch it. I catch my own idea. I catch my own creation. But I've got to get in the car and I've got to drive 24 hours in order to catch it, because it's rising, and California is set to trap it. But then everyone goes, oh, I don't have enough money to leave. I can't drive there. But then you just went and spent $200 at the bar. You just went to the grocery store and spent $300 to fill up your cabinets. And you do have a car and you do have gas. And I'm saying all you have to do to shed 10 years off your life is drive to California real quick. But you're going to tell me that you can't do it. You're going to come up with every single excuse on why you can't leave your county, or why you can't go across state lines. Because in your head, you need a certain amount of money, you need a certain amount of thing in order to even do it. That's watergating. Down here in Texas and down here in the South, we know all about it, because every single city in Texas has a main street. And the main streets all used to go east and west. Well, guess what? They changed them all on a metal grid. Now they're going north and south. But they're still running and intersecting east and west. You've got two different grid systems working. You have main streets that are running east and west for the Sedated and the Alamo. Then you've got the metal grids that are working on the Moss grids that are over the Christ grids now. And they're going on the in-between. They're running a middle phase. Well, guess what that does to the Christ grid people? It drops you deeper. If they're pulling it up higher, then what's it going to do? If you're not trying to get higher, then you're going to go deeper. You're going to fall into a gate. If you weren't in the Christ lines and RH negatives and you haven't been dealing with this and somewhat unwinding it over the past 8 years as it's been unwinding, then it's just all of a sudden everything in your world is falling apart. And it's because you're in a high frequency at a low level. I know about this one really well. That's how New Orleans came into my world in this lifetime. Is 2013. I fell in hell. I ended up in New Orleans with Cain, literally, all over again, meeting Preston and dealing with Cain and Abel. Fucking literally. Being called Samson, having to go to the Roosevelt Hotel and where the woman drank the first beer in the world legally in New Orleans. The female who drank the first beer legally. And I met somebody that I was running around with at the hotel, another blonde girl that ended up coming in at the end. And it's a way, in a way, it's Samantha that's here now that still we're walking through this. But we went to the Roosevelt and we had a shot of whiskey. Every single piece of it had to be rewalked. But we did. That started in 2013. By 2023, 10 years later, we were back there blowing a hole in the magnetosphere. Why? John Baptiste and the Evergreen was set up on a Watergate of vampires, and every single Christ baby that was being born went straight into the rafters. Up in the rafters was only men. There weren't even any women up there because they were killing all the mothers. Now, I'm just describing the burial. I mean, all of these things that ended up being created in the ether and that we call the spirit and that we assign character to and we call Christ and we call Mohammed and Abraham, and it's all Babylonian frequencies. It's all letters, and the words together say something. It's why you call them what it is you call them. You call them that to balance out the frequency of what's coming in, because it's one source code. It's so complex. You give it a name, and then as soon as you name it, it becomes something different. But the process in naming it defines it for you, correct? Well, we're talking about 72 million years of a faceless entity that was being assigned names. Then as the human race, and this is where, those of us who walk this journey, Job didn't have shit. Jesus wasn't crap as far as what he had to go through. The sister went through everything. The body went through everything. Mary Magdalene went through it all. Jesus was awarded. Now, over time, that creates twins. And it creates haves and have-nots. But really what it is it's a whole bunch of beings that have a voice in one big cell all over land and death, because you're standing on death. The energy is coming through your feet. Where are people buried around you? What cemeteries are there? Is there a sign that says don't enter after 6 o'clock? Because if there is, I wouldn't. But realize that the cemetery system and the death system and everybody going into the cemetery and then you dying and then all of those bits and pieces and blah, 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 blah. But see, they take all the blood out before they put the body in, right? What do they do with the blood? Sell it. What do they plant? Then the body goes into the ground. Then that has to deteriorate. Then but then realize that if you're one of us, you don't die. That means that your body keeps growing. So when you go into an ancient cemetery, first of all, this is why a lot of the crypts and stuff are built above ground, because they put you above ground because they don't want you in the ground. Why? Then you're making organics. There's other reasons for it too, in New Orleans because of the flooding and yada yada mate. But see, I'm even describing to you. So if you put all the crypts above ground and then you put them in cement, well, that energy is still alive. It's just charging the cement. It's not charging the ground. It's not charging the rocks. It's not charging algae. It's not going into photosynthesis. It instead, you have a bunch of energy that's still alive, that's still connecting, except it's in a box. Now it's in a box, but it's connected into another cement grid that's got a bunch of other energies that are all connected. Then that creates a surge. And I'm telling you, every single one of your data centers and every single one of your electric cable things are all around cemeteries and pet cemeteries and old ones that are probably buried 3 and 4 layers deep that you don't even know, not to mention the ones that are on top. So the whole system and the way it's created because it's after death, but you're dealing with the cosmos and you're dealing with life and you're dealing with long energetics of time that the human body was having to evolve through at different states. Why? Because it was being manipulated and gated. Otherwise, there wouldn't be an issue, right? If there was no manipulation, or if the energy was just fluxing through you, and if the DNA is working the way it should be, and see, realize that really all the vaccinated, what you did was, it all happened for a reason. It's all going to be used, good and bad. If you got vaccinated, you're not going to hell, but you're gonna have to work through something. And I can tell you right now, it's going to depend on what shot you took. Because you were thinking this was a different thing than what it was. What it was in 2020 is that everybody was choosing what shot they were going to take, because you were choosing which narrative and which creator you were going to hinge your existence on. And so, whatever pharmaceutical company you chose, you did it for a sole reason, because that's the part you needed to work on. I guarantee it. Everybody chose. Now, vaccinating actually ended up being, although it was painful for all of us to go through it, and energetically we had to deal with the Biden and the auto pen, and everybody's realizing how it's not cloning. They can just change you right in front, right? You won't even know. You'll go to bed and wake up someone else. This is why children that have this DNA should not be raised by people who do not have this DNA. I just described Hansel and Gretel. And the whole problem with the Tartarian system, the whole problem with the adoption system, this is why gay men should not be fucking having a child. This is why gay women should not be fucking having a child. You shouldn't be making any new ones. Why are you making new ones? You think you're so fucking special that you got to make a new one? You got to get someone else's ovary. You got to get someone else's da 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 da. But realize that even the ones that are in these relationships, and you can call me an ableist or you can tell me whatever the fuck you want, but I'm just telling you how organic nature keeps going. So if you're telling me that they're taking Christ seeds and they're selling Christ babies and they're handing them over to gay couples, and then you want to wonder why the whole world went gay. Then you want to wonder why the whole world only knows about masculine shit. Then you want to wonder why the children aren't learning how to balance their energy. They don't know any balance, they've never been taught it. From my end, as walking through this, which Christ wasn't even the thing. I mean, you had to get through Christ and then you had to make it back to Cleopatra's wrist. Then you had to activate your hands in the planet. And guess what? They're on two different sides of the world. And the entire Middle East and everybody buying and selling stuff in Turkey and artifacts and everything else has been making a ton of money selling your DNA, selling your teeth once they get pulled, selling everything about you, not giving you anything because they want to be you. Well, that's Joseph, and it started with Joseph Smith. And Joseph Smith ended up making this whole Mary and Joseph thing. So then you want to wonder why Gabriel had to come tell Mary in another dimension, yo, you're pregnant. So then Joseph ends up being the proxy dad. Mary ends up being the proxy mom. Then you want to build a whole MJ12 cosmic cycle on it because it's what it is. We're actually moving through space, and a Christ baby is just all the space that you're fixing to come through gets here first, so it's clean, so your body can move through it. But then as soon as the energy from space gets here, then you want to microbe it to death. You want to freaking make it sick, and then you want to send nuclear devices up into space. I just described how the vaccine saved a bunch of people's lives. You wouldn't have been able to get through. If everybody wouldn't have vaccinated and even put it into 6 systems, now I'm telling you good, because they're good and bad and everything. But then what does it do? Then, okay, we got a bunch of bodies through. We got the in-between DNA through that we needed to, which is why we were back here in the 70s having to make babies with these motherfuckers that we all fucking hate to begin with. But that's why they would make us have to come back down here and have them. The whole system was set up on this. So here's what happened. I'm no longer learning anything new. I'm not a black magician. I don't know anything about magic. All I know is how to get out of it. And Joseph, and the one that's been trailing me from the government and NATO my whole existence, that's all he taught me, was how to get undone magic, because that's all he ever did on me was magic. Well, I ain't got nothing left to learn, and I've already gone up and elevated so far over it that there is not even any physics of magic left down here, so I don't have any reason to deal with you. Now, the entire Christ line that's down here, which is now the collective, because the collective now the collective, all of us that have been working through this, I don't care how long you've been down here doing it, you were in one mission, or you figured it out real quick that we're somehow connected and that we need to do this together, and you've been working through it. Well, we proved Saint Sarah. So first of all these saints that have been, that, Saint Patrick, that's why his whole thing ended up being Patricia the day before, because we're getting the true story. So every single saint that's a man down here, you can erase. Because every single saint that's a man that you're celebrating, whatever it is, was celebrating them switching places with the female. And then you wonder why the presidents are dressing up like girls and have all the girls where they are. Because the girls are running the world, y'all. They just don't want you to know that. Well, our system's reset. I'm pretty sure it happens on the 7th. The 7th is 10/31. So by the 7th, today's the 5th, by the 7th is going to be the final end of us walking through all of this October bullshit. October was just a whole bunch of birth dates of a bunch of Christs and a bunch of men that have then said and literally traumatize you, steal everything about you. They bind you to your house. They set up Somalian bullshit. I mean, I got David living across the street. They've been doing, I mean, Rihanna's house got shot at whenever I pulled down this grid in Little Elm. They got rehab facility next door to me. They've got 6 houses on this street with sick people in them. They know that I sit over here and heal energy. The Joseph that was tracking me told me he works for the CDC, y'all. Fossey and all that shit was off getting the Neanderthal genome here. And then my son was it. And then y'all allowed him to be freaking taken hostage by Collin County. He's been being fed. I don't even know what he's been told about me. I don't even know. But you think it's okay? Well, my son is not your Rex Humerman. I don't know what you did. I don't know how you bound it up, but our boys are not wrapped up into your story. Our boy, I don't care what you've been mind fucking them with. I don't care how old they are. You aren't going to make them evil just because you want to say that their mother is evil while you're making them sick and we're healing the world. Because you activated us to do it and you woke us up to do it. I think that's all I have to say about that. It's 9:31. Thank y'all for being here today. Have a good day. Be you. Don't pay it, if something pops on your world, then pay attention because you're seeing it. Realize that if you're making commands, and don't forget to make your commands, and more so that we popped out the other side, program yourself. If you need to start working out or you need to do something like that or whatever it is, get out a calendar and just write on the calendar. Or you don't even have to put it in the date. Just say, okay, I need to start working out a little bit more because my muscles, and it's not because of a vanity reason, because I need to get my strength up and watch what happens. Just say that you're going to do it. Your day, you might end up cleaning your entire fucking house, but you're developing muscle tone. You might end up, every time you go to the grocery store, you got to walk a little bit further, but you don't got to get a gym membership. And once you program it into your life, you don't even have to think about it. Make these statements and these commands out loud because the speak-up frequency is prophetic. Whenever you're holding a real body and you say something, it goes up and down, not east and west. You keep stating it, eventually your body, just like a video game, is going to go up into that frequency. And then once your body goes up into that bandwidth, then there might be some sparks. You might need to lay a couple of screech marks in your car. You might need to go turn some circles around here or do some forward rolls. But then you're going to pop up to the next level, because then you're going to pop and it's going to keep elevating. Eventually, every single molecule of dense energy is out of your field and you're nothing but a shiny mirror. This is when everyone starts calling you a demon because all they see is themselves. This is where they'll say, oh, well, she's not ready yet because because she's attacking, or look what she's causing because she's doing this with her etheric power. No, no. We're only counteracting whatever it is that you're doing. If you're not fucking with anything, then everything's just rising. If you're sending a current, then that current's being matched from gates bigger than you. And these entities that have been down here thinking that they can control everyone's etheric minds and can control their souls and who can choose what everyone looks like and can control a narrative that has been in place for billions of years. I don't know about you, but I know what they need. They need to be scared of something. Correct? They need to be scared of something. They think that they can control everything. No matter. They are hell bent to make their narrative come true, even to the destruction of the entire human race. So what the collective, wants to be all just love and light, and that's why y'all got stuck in this loop so long, because goddamn, none of it is about love and light. Fucking none of it. None of it. It's about death and destruction. Love and light is just some angles, man. Love and light is getting a fairy up there and then turning your body into an L and then going, okay, great, the ray didn't get that far, now it's going to go back down there, but then what are you doing? Resurrection, death, and rebirth is ugly. It's ugly. It's painful. Men wouldn't know that. You come, that's why women, we when you start talking about our children, we automatically go into a different bandwidth. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter if your child is with you or not. It doesn't matter if you've had a baby and given it up. It doesn't, because you're connected in ways, and you let things slide in ways that you can't explain, or maybe you go exact opposite and you give your kid ever living hell, and you are freaking Johnny Nazi because you are bound and determined that they're gonna have structure and you didn't have it. And they're because the woman has been through the process of building that child in her body and having to go through all of those pieces. If you haven't, then you don't understand. You want everything instant. And I really thank God I'm not the one that has to come up with what that's going to look like in the future. I know what it's not going to look like. I know that you're not going to have an Andromeda. I know that you're not going to have your body parts missing. At least one purebred human race, like at least someone's going to have a pecker. Some of y'all might have them start growing out your ass, and some of you might end up with tails, and I'm not even kidding. In the entire race. But y'all can change it and stop it. You better get on it. What it's not going to be is a whole bunch of laboratory babies. What's not going to happen is what everyone's saying, at least not in my collective. What's not going to happen is that you're going to have nothing, and you're going to like it, and you're going to get on a universal stipend, because that's what they're out there saying, and that's what the young ones are out there saying now. Oh, here it is. It's here. You're getting locked into a system. That system would have to have 4 bitches in the middle that's connected to one dragon in order to keep processing and giving you anything out of it for free. And you don't have us anymore. You already did it with credit cards. You already did it with finance. You already blew the wad. You already went into the future, stole all the energy. You already tried to gate it for another million years, and we blew it sky high. You're on 6 fucking levels from 3 trillion star years away, and that's it. So for all the ones that know about this Alamo thing, and for all the ones who know that they was made from it, and from each church that's running an Esther church right now around me, and the churches and the mega churches of Texas that are running body parts like planets for the rest of the world, you are shut the fuck down. And I pull all Louisiana connections. Bye.